Hello! I'll talk today about myth busting. I really enjoyed the article in this edition of Psychology Review about sort of myths in psychology and the importance of debunking them. Now, what's interesting is that I would suggest that three of the things on there, three of those examples, are complete myths. Three are more controversies, where there's interesting ongoing research. So, to take the ones that are kind of safely myths, one is learning styles. It's not that learning styles don't exist, it's just that there is very little or no evidence, no really solid evidence that you can make any difference to someone's learning by changing what they do or what you do as teacher in response to that learning style. The existence of some kind of learning style is a bit of a truism because we all know that we like to do some things and we don't like to do others. It's just there's not really any application of that in real life. So, second one that's a safe myth, I think, is the idea of using 10% of the brain. And there is just really no evidence, no basis that could possibly come from. We know from sort of scanning studies now that we do use all of the brain all of the time. Even if we're doing one very specific thing, that will involve multiple areas of the brain. So, and criminal profiling. Again, very interesting, and there have been examples of where it's been very useful, but they're actually fairly unusual. So, now, the ones that I think are the interesting ones that are kind of controversies, I would say, one is about violence and criminality and full moon. It does depend on where you get your statistics, how they're compiled and so on, but it does seem, my reading of the evidence anyway, that there is some evidence for this. The really interesting question is why it should be. And there is, of course, a very simple killjoy argument, which is that if you're going to commit crime, violent crime, for example, you want to be able to see what you're doing, and there's more light around when there's a full moon. Could be as simple as that. Adolescence, again, does depend very much on what your sample is, what sort of data you're looking for, but again, I think that there is evidence that for many adolescents it is a time of emotional turmoil, identity formation and so on. So I wouldn't go so far as to say that's a myth. I would say that's an ongoing kind of controversy. And finally, expressing anger. Well, again, the evidence is actually rather mixed. It's true that it's rather easier to test the idea that if you engage in activities like watching violent film or playing violent video games, that sort of role modelling effects, desensitisation effects make you more likely to be aggressive. That's likely to be true, but that's not quite the same as saying that expressing anger is a bad thing. It comes down to the context, I think. So again, I would say that's a kind of a complex question with lots of nuances. I wouldn't say it's a myth. So, what does this tell us? It shows the most interesting and important thing of all, that even as psychologists, we don't agree on these things. And actually, as psychologists, we don't agree on very much. And that is a good thing.